All right, let's move over to the wide receiver position where Keenan Allen had a hamstring. I know he was going for an MRI. Tucker, what's the latest, and what other wide receiver injuries are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Keenan Allen. He's by far the biggest name right now. And unfortunately for him and people who have Keenan Allen in their league, they play on Thursday night this week, even if he was, close to coming. I just think that's a numbers crunch that he can't necessarily get through. It's tough for healthy players to get up for a Thursday night game, considering he missed most of Sunday. He still led the team in receptions and yards. He was still their leading receiver, despite missing most of the game. I don't think the Chargers are going to rush him out there on a short week. I think it's best for him, and I think they're going to play conservatively and sit him out and have him wait until week 3. T. Higgins is another big name that's currently dealing with an injury. He had a concussion on Sunday. He's currently in concussion protocol. We won't know any more about him really until Thursday of this week. That'll be the first day that he'll be able to practice with the team if he progresses through a concussion protocol. But those are the two big guys right now that I'm not sure. I mean, T. Higgins, I would say more than Keenan Allen has a shot at suiting up for week 2, but both of them I would say are firmly questionable.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Curtis, let's talk wide receiver pickups. The number one guy on your list is a guy that I own about 20% of in best ball, Curtis Samuel. They paid a lot of money for him in the offseason. And I mean, I was drafting him in the 12th, 13th round in early best ball because he's a talented guy. He was someone, late. I tend to mix things a little bit more, so I didn't go crazy. How much do you like what you saw out of Curtis Samuel, and what are you willing to spend on him?
Yeah, I think I like the role that he was in. He didn't really play wide receiver per se. He was kind of, if you would have read Rich's worksheet article, that with the Brian Robinson injury, he could see a bit of a different role. And that's what we saw. He had 11 targets with 11 air yards. So kind of gives me a weekly floor for PPR. I think he's going to be more consistent than Dotson. He's not going to have the big plays that Dotson catches downfield, but Samuel's really dynamic anyway, and he can turn those small catches into something. So I like the weekly floor that he provides. So I'm going to be aggressively bidding on him. I haven't really made up my mind on how much. It depends if it's a 2 wide receiver league or a 3 wide receiver league, but I don't think it's wrong to get into the triple digits because I think he's going to have value throughout the year.
Devin Duvernay is going to be a very popular ad. I think that he is going to get some pretty heavy bids, and I'm, off of 1 week, I'm not willing to go crazy on him. What are your thoughts on Devin Duvernay, and how much are you willing to spend?
Yeah, he's a guy I'm willing to let my league mates bid on. The passing volume, he's got Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman all ahead of him, and how much are the Ravens going to pass is kind of my concern. And they do have a really difficult passing schedule throughout the year, which is had me lighter on the Ravens pass catchers in general. So he's one I'm just going to kind of watch the bids get out of control on and stay away from.
One guy that I am very high on is Kyle Phillips, a guy that I did take some of in best ball, but I wish I had taken more because he was itching me. Because these slot guys who are always open, we've seen them get 60, 70, 80 catches. He had a lot of targets week 1, didn't he? Where do you put him in your pecking order, and how much are you willing to spend on Kyle Phillips?
Probably second or third, depending on needs. I'm going to put DeAndre Carter if I need someone this week, but I'm putting Kyle Phillips right behind him if I'm looking long-term. Things are looking up for Titans pass catchers with Burks and Phillips in the mold there, and just kind of waiting out the Ryan Tannehill era, and let's see where this Malik Willis, Kyle Phillips, and Burks team can go.
Yeah, I am a fan of what these slot guys who can get open. I just think, the ability to get open is sometimes underrated in the fantasy community. And it's something that I've learned once you see it, like Hunter Renfrow last year, once you see a quarterback using a guy in that role, It's typically unusual to see them stop within the same season in the same group of wideouts. You mentioned DeAndre Carter. Him and Greg Dortch are two guys that I'm really not willing to chase. Carter really did a lot with a little, and those are guys that I tend to avoid. Dortch got a lot of attempts, but I've seen Arizona really, the guy who gets it one week doesn't always tend to be the guy who gets it the next. And you know that you've got a bunch of wide receivers coming back and targets going in other areas. Your thoughts on the two guys? Do you disagree with my take on that?
No, you hit the nail on the head. Dortch is a guy that I'm going to be watching the Rondell Moore situation, because Dortch did play the majority of his snaps in the slot. So on teams where I have DeAndre Hopkins and I need something to get me by till he comes back, he's a good short-term fix. Yet again, I'm not spending a lot on him because he's only going to be a couple week replacement. And same with Carter. Carter does get catches when he's on the field, and depending on how this Allen injury turns out, he's a guy I'm not going to overspend, but I will throw some bids in just if I need a 1 week starter.
One other name I'm going to throw out is a guy I also took a pretty good amount of in best ball. I thought he was nice leverage on Deshaun Watson, where you could get one of his big starting targets, get stats from him for 11 weeks, and then get a nice upgrade down the stretch, is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he's a talented guy. Your thoughts on DPJ?
Yeah, I think we saw yesterday that the Browns are going to keep the ball out of Jacoby Brissett's hands as much as they possibly can. So I'm not really too involved in him because I don't see them hitting 30 passing attempts very often unless they need to. They're going to be a slow-paced, run-based team that's going to leave a lot of volatility for the wide receivers.